Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video I'm going to be discussing the recent post that Naoki Yoshida made over on the Japanese developer forums for Final Fantasy XIV Now. This post has not received an official translation as of this recording. However, Square Enix's very own Kahuna has assured us that as soon as they are done translating this post, they will post it over on the North American and other language forums, I guess I should say. So what is this post about? Well, I can't read a word of it, but thankfully a few members of the community can. This post is about jump potions. Now, we haven't spoken about these in some time, but for those of you unfamiliar with the idea, a jump potion is a paid feature in which you are allowed to either skip story segments of the game to get caught up, or in this case, or gain enough levels to get up to the more recent content more quickly. Normally something that's given to new players as a means of catching them up to play with their friends if they don't want to go through tons of story or tons of leveling before them and their friends can even realistically do the most recent content in the game. Now, we haven't received any details about this up until this point, and to be honest, this post, while it looks to be like a confirmation of jump potions, is not a direct confirmation. It is a post detailing jump potions in the other regions, the Chinese and Korean versions, which do have jump potions in existence already since it's much more acceptable in their culture, and getting our feedback on the way that the potion works over in those regions. So I'm going to actually hit translate to English here. I know enough about the post where I can make sense of kind of the broken Google English that's happening here. So basically, it starts off with why are they implementing it? The main reason is new players. It's because people will invite their friends to play the game, and then they're like, but you got to do all these story quests, you got to do 2.1 to 2.55, you got to do 3.0, you got to do 3.1, 2, 3, and 4, soon to be 3.5, and then you can play with me. And then it's like, okay, well, I want to play Dark Knight. Okay, well, you need to do all these story before you can play Dark Knight. Okay. So as you can see, there's just so many hurdles for new players to get into, to get over in order to get into the game currently. And I can understand that. Even if we were to go back and trim the fat off of the story quests between 2.1 and 2.55, which is clearly the worst part of the main story for the game, we would still run into the issue of, after so many expansions, even with trimmed main story quests, it's still going to be a bunch of trimmed main story quests that people are going to have to do hours and hours and hours, especially with the number of people who play the game and they can only play 3 or 4 hours a day, but they'd like to progress a little bit faster, or they just like to get up and play with their friends in the first place. Busy lives is one of the other main reasons why this is being implemented. Yes, players could take their time and 1-2 months down the line catch up to the game, and then just for another patch to come out most likely, and then okay, great. But a lot of people feel very demotivated by that, and I can understand that as a consumer in this market. So the intended purpose of the implementation is to get new players caught up to more recent content, but it gives them a choice. Whether or not you do this is realistically up to you as a new player. So they're already implementing the Chinese-Korean version, so the rest of the post takes the time to detail how the potions work over in the other regions. So apparently in the Chinese and Korean versions, there's 2 types of jump potions. One of them is the story skip potion, which allows you to strictly skip up to the 3.0 main scenario quest. This is how it currently works, not how it's going to work in Stormblood. So you buy the potion and it does all the quests for you up to 2.55. It flags all of your quests as complete. All the story quests is complete, all the cutscenes are unlocked in the in-room, and then some other minor quests, things that unlock other features in the game, some of those are also automatically completed. And then there's also the job jump potion, which currently over in the Chinese and Korean versions jumps you to level 50 on a main class, jumps you up to level 15 on a subclass, unlocks somewhat relevant gear for you for level, in this case level 50. I believe item level 120 is what's going to be listed further down when they actually go down to describing it. In fact, here, as you can see, this is actually a more direct translation. Main quest, the final 2.5 quest becomes cleared, and the quest to Ishgard becomes accepted to you. Which class in the lowest? You're automatically enlisted in a grand company in accordance with your home country. So if you are a conjurer, you're automatically put up to, because Gridania becomes your home country, you're automatically put to max rank for the Twin Adders, for example. You automatically get a chocobo with a generic name, and then you're able to access all of the dungeons that existed prior to Heavensward. So all the 2.0, 2. to 2.55 dungeons all become automatically unlocked. So those are just to backtrack to the story unlock features. Then for the job unlock features, as you can see, item level 120 is an item level 120 gear, or I guess items or weapons are given to you. The weapons are given to you. You get a level 50 class, subclass of 15, and you're given your job stone with all of your job quests completed and all the skills unlocked up to level 50. You're given an item that you can trade in for 300,000 gil, and you're also given silver chocobo feathers to trade in for gear. So that's what these potions currently do in the Chinese and Korean versions. Obviously, when Stormblood comes out, the potions are going to change. The story potion will, instead of finishing 2.55, will finish up to 3.5/3.55 potentially, and do all the same things, lock all the dungeons, all the minor features that they consider that you should have unlocked. And the job potions will be updated. It'll take you to level 60 on your job of choice. It'll do all the quests up to level 60. Basically, just take all these things and update them for level 60, and it'll be done. With Stormblood having a level 70 as a cap, it's reasonable. It doesn't want you to have all the current content done. It wants you to have all the previous expansions content done going into the current expansion, which is why it doesn't take you to level 60 currently. So that's how it works over there, and each of these costs about 2,500 yen. That's just about $21 US dollars, 21 US dollars for each potion. These are two separate potions. So if you want to both skip the story and level, you're going to pay, in this case, about $42 in order to do that, or 5,000 yen in this case. And they even give you a few examples of that down here. This is like, you know, what happens when a new player wants to catch up all at once. This is what they do. If they just want to catch up and then do the main story normally, or if they want to get all the story cutscenes, but then they just want to do leveling separate from the story quest, which to me is kind of the weirdest scenario to name. He also labels some disadvantages here. Obviously, there becomes a player skill gap that it's an actual concern. For me, I have the philosophy that if somebody wants to be good at anything, no matter what they do to start, they'll apply themselves, they'll practice, they'll research, and they'll play better in this case. A player who doesn't want to play well, it doesn't matter if you skip them straight to max level or if you start them at level 1. The learning process is just not there for them. They don't take the effort to actually ever improve their play. They just start throwing in things wherever they want to, and once they have a notion of what they think is correct, that's how they're going to play forever. Same thing would happen here. The question is, how much different would it be when all the skills are thrown at them at once versus all the skills are brought to them little by little, which I think, honestly, even with a jump potion, part of my feedback is it's still possible to introduce skills little by little. It's just in a much shorter time frame. What's the other one? Various skip potion measured in sales since the start of the player. So yeah, this is describing what it's like in China and Korea. 29 to 27% in the previous year. Support of friends, most cases you are buying is recommended. Various skip potions measured in sales since the start of the play and new activate the account. So this is just the number of people who have actually purchased one or the other jump potion, and it's about 27 to 29% of the players, it looks like. It did play about level 30 in the free trial, so it looks like most of the people who did buy it, even in the Chinese and Korean versions, apparently they played to about level 30 in the free trial and then bought a valid account, and then they just decided to buy the potion afterwards. So these are just a bunch of statistics about the number of people who bought them over in China and Korea. And then there's the other disadvantage that people are buying the game experience with money as opposed to experiencing it themselves, which again, I totally understand. It's just the kind of mentality. People want to get up and do the newest things. One of the biggest things that's highlighted in this post is that people aren't as loyal to games as they used to be. A lot of people jump around games more, and that's just what the next generation of gamer does. Like I wouldn't say I'm an old gamer, you know, but I am from the generation of gamers that was sort of introduced to MMOs as something you stay super loyal to. Just betraying an MMO is like, it's the most ungodly thing you could do. That's the generation that I grew up in terms of MMOs. That's not the generation now. And they need to be thinking about the next generation of gamers, because all of us people who grew up with MMOs being a certain way, we refuse to let go of that it was a certain way then, and that is not how things work now. That is not how you attract customers now. And that is, as a business, you need to attract customers now. And I get that, and as much as I'm not a huge fan of the idea, I get that it's kind of almost a necessary evil at some point. Yoshi P ultimately wants to implement these potions, but he is super afraid of backlash regarding the decision to release it in regions outside of China and Korea. So he is asking for feedback. When the official post is put on the official forums, I am assuming people will go out there in droves. And I'm sure they'll be checking other sources as well when it comes to something as important as this, because sometimes people don't want to share it on the official forums, or they've been banned down the official forums for one reason or the other. So there's a lot of feedback to consider with this. My feedback, I'm okay with the jump potion. I respect that with so many quests, so much story, you can't put development time into trimming the old stuff down when you could be putting development time into putting new stuff in. And on top of that, eventually, even if you were to trim down every expansion, you got to trim down old quests. Eventually, it's still a bunch of trimmed quests that you have to get through, and it's incredibly just it's long and tedious, and it's more development power that is taken away from adding new things to the game. So I get it, you know. So ultimately, I see it as a necessary thing to happen. I didn't think Stormblood would be when it happened. I thought they might wait till 5.0. Just make sure that you're properly incorporating tools to educate these players who are using these features. It's also not mentioned anywhere if these are going to be given to like people who buy Stormblood. Like, it's strictly meant as something that you purchase after already purchasing the game. My personal thing is, if you're going to even do this as a thing to get people to catch up to in your game, you probably want to at least bottle one of these things, one of the two things, with the actual game. My personal recommendation, the story one. Bottle the story one. But the thing is, if you don't bottle both, it gets a little weird. I think they might end up bottling both, because asking somebody to buy a game, then you buy the expansion for the game, then you got to pay a monthly fee, then you got to spend another $40 just to get caught up. That's honestly, that's just as steep as doing the main story quest. Like, you've created this incredible barrier on both ends if you do it that way. So if you don't bundle this with your new purchases and then allow people to purchase extras for like other characters or leveling other jobs, whatever, it kind of doesn't serve a purpose at all, in my opinion. So bundle it with Stormblood if you're going to do it at all, because otherwise you're not lowering the barrier of entry at all. 2, make sure something like Hall of the Novice is present, but something more advanced. They've mentioned a hall that's like a moderate difficulty, something that teaches more in-depth individually each job. I think that should be mandatory, and I think that should be high on your priority list if you're planning on doing this. For one, it's good to have in the game itself anyway. 2, for something like this, it should be absolutely mandatory along with the Hall of Novice before you can progress to any group-related content. I just don't see how we can get around that being a potential means of reducing the player skill gap. That's like the only thing I could think of. And then finally, I guess maybe limit how often somebody could buy them. I don't, like, it'd be really weird if somebody who just has all this money gets all jobs to 60 immediately. I guess at this point, I guess it depends on if they're ruining my gameplay experience by joining my parties and they're like not skilled on any of the jobs. They just bought them all just for fun. That's a possibility, but it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. I think it's okay for it to happen. Just put in the necessary things to prevent it. Make sure you're including it with Stormblood. Make sure you add a moderate haul. Make sure players are forced to do these beginner and moderate hauls in order to make sure before they can go into any group content. If you do that, I think this will be fine. This won't be the end of Final Fantasy XIV. That's a great deal of hyperbole, but it's a damned if they do, damned if they don't scenario, and I'd rather be damned if they do, because doing nothing is not a solution to anything, as stupid as that sounds coming out of my mouth. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts are on the jump potion looking to be nearly confirmed for Final Fantasy XIV, at least at some point in the future. We don't know when and if, realistically, at all. And if you have feedback, be on the lookout for the English version of this post, so you can go and post the feedback there. Honestly, even people are posting English feed. Oh wait, actually, I think these are probably Japanese posts that I've translated to English. Yeah, I think it is. When it gets posted to English, post your feedback there over on the official forums. Even there's a thread on Reddit you could post it to in case they're looking there for any other feedback. But I'm going to wrap up this video. I've got some other videos to record. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And stay tuned, because next week we got Japanese Fan Festival, more expansion announcements, new jobs, more hype. I will see you guys next time. And until then, take care.